It got even more ridiculous, though, because it didn't stop there. Brett Kavanaugh responded angrily when he was accused of rape. Ooh, that's bad. He can't respond angrily when he is accused of rape. Instead, he is supposed to respond with a completely placid demeanor, at which point Democrats call him robotic and a fake. That's how this is supposed to work. If Brett Kavanaugh gets angry, it's because he's guilty. And if he doesn't get angry, it's also because he's guilty. Ted Lieu essentially tweeted that out yesterday, our execrable congressperson from here in California. He tweeted out, if Brett Kavanaugh can be this angry on national TV, imagine what he's like when he gets inebriated. So, in other words, I accuse you of rape. You get angry. That means you're probably an angry drunk. That probably means 36 years ago you raped a girl. That's the chain of logic there. That is the chain of logic being used by a sitting congressperson. And it wasn't just Ted Lieu. It was ridiculous disgrace Brian Schatz, the senator from Hawaii. He tweeted out, it's hard to imagine this person being objective and fair on the Supreme Court. Is it, though? He spent years on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Is it possible you might be pissed if I accused you of rape? Is it possible you might not appear objective and fair if I accused you of rape and you came back at me and you said, you're a bleep? What? But you're not being objective and fair to me. Right, because you just accused me of rape. It's probably that. I mean, this is gaslighting at its finest. This is when you have a younger sibling and you take your younger sibling's hand and you hit your younger sibling in the face and you go, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. This is exactly what Democrats are doing here. Democrats are saying, you are a gang rapist. You are an alleged rapist of a 15-year-old girl 36 years ago at an unnamed party, at an unnamed location, at an unnamed date. That's you. And then if you get mad, that just shows you're a partisan hack. If you say that I'm only doing that for partisan purposes, well, that shows that you, sir, are the real partisan. You wonder why people are going nuts? Because you're gaslighting them, which is deliberately designed to make people go nuts. That's what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is where you tell somebody something not true, and then when they respond to the untruth, you blame them for responding to the untruth. That's what's going on here. Honest to God, Democrats stoop pretty low sometimes, but to protect abortion, which is what this is really about, this is as low as I've ever seen anyone stoop. Anyone. In any case, Barbara Boxer, who used to be the stupidest woman in the United States Senate, she says that Brett Kavanaugh, you could actually see him attacking a woman because he was sitting there getting angry that people were accusing him of attacking a woman.
All of a sudden, we see a man transformed from a choir boy. All of a sudden, his anger is triggered. And what we saw today is someone who you could now see attacking a woman. It's very frightening.
Yes, that was clearly what happened there. If I accuse you of rape and you get mad, then clearly you're the kind of person who would attack a woman. I mean, this is legitimately a witch hunt kind of thing. This is legitimately if we throw you in the river and you sink, that means you were innocent. And if you float, that means you're guilty and we burn you at the stake. That's what this is. If he gets mad, it's because he's guilty. If he doesn't get mad, it's because he's insincere. What's even worse than the Democrats, you can expect to do all this sort of nonsense, are the members of the media. I mean, the media coverage of this was just egregious. They are so partisan. They are so open in their partisanship. It is truly an astonishing thing to watch. And the mask is off. I mean, you wonder why. I hope Republican turnout is amazing in 6 weeks. I hope Republican turnout is just unending. I hope you bring all your friends to vote because these folks cannot have power. These folks cannot be given power. If these folks have power, they will use it to run you and your rights off the ground. That is what they are doing here. They were willing to destroy a man's life and family based on an unverifiable allegation. What do you think they're willing to do to you for political gain? What do you think they're willing to do to your rights for political gain? This is the most cynical, partisan, disgusting hackery I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just abysmal. And the media, complicit in it at every step of the way because the media have demonstrated that they are, in fact, Democratic outlets. I'm a guy who's criticized President Trump for saying that the media are fake news. But this week, they proved that they were partisan hacks in objective news journalist sheep's clothing. They showed it over and over again. We're going to start with some of the quote-unquote objective media, and then we'll get to the non-objective media, because the non-objective media are Democrat hacks, are basically Democrat hacks, and I want to discuss their point of view. But let's start with the folks who are supposed to be objective. So we begin with John King of CNN. So John King of CNN yesterday, he comes out and he says, Brett Kavanaugh went full Trump, which is the worst thing you can say about anyone on CNN. He went full Trump. Or alternatively, Brett Kavanaugh was legitimately defending himself against charges that he believes are false against him. But if you're angry at any point, then you're Trumpian. And if you're not angry, it's because you're not authentic. And then we had Brian Stelter, right? A supposedly objective journalist on CNN. He quotes a piece from the Washington Post. Today in America, this was men against women, right against left, a cascade of recrimination, explosions of anger, hours of tears and sobs. Was it men against women? Or is that the narrative the media wants to portray? Honestly, I've rarely seen so many Republican women angry at the treatment of anyone. We have a lot of women who work in this office. A lot of women who work in this office. They were glued to the screen and they were indignant at the way Brett Kavanaugh was treated yesterday. Because it turns out a lot of these women have husbands, have sons. A lot of them are looking at the way men are being treated by the militant feminists and the radical members of the Me Too movement. And they're saying, I want people protected. Yes, I like men and I want men protected too. They are still American citizens, even if they have penises. It turns out there are a lot of women who still believe in due process and the rights of the accused. There's still a lot of women who don't like to watch partisan hackery substituted for any sort of knowledge. It's an amazing thing. The Washington Post had this headline: Kavanaugh's sexual assault hearing turns partisan as Republican senators lash out at treatment of Supreme Court nominee. It wasn't partisan before that. It wasn't partisan when Dianne Feinstein held up an actual accusation of alleged rape back in 1982 for 6 weeks for her own purposes. Now it's partisan. Only now it got partisan. And NBC News tweeted this. This was their headline: conservative media dedicate blanket coverage to Ford hearing. How is that even a headline? 30 million people watched the hearing yesterday. Everyone dedicated blanket coverage to Ford hearing. I, for example, was watching some of the coverage on MSNBC. It turns out everyone dedicated blanket coverage to the Ford hearing. These are the objective news media. And then we get to the complete fools in the quote-unquote non-objective news media. There's people like Luke Russert. Luke Russert tweeted this out. So he tweeted out, oh boy, Kavanaugh is going full angry, belittled, marginalized white man. Tough sell for today. Or alternatively, he believes he was falsely accused of an attempted rape and he was mad about it. But no, he's white, so he can't talk. He's a man, so he can't talk. Basically, he's supposed to sit there and take all this. I can't wait to show you what Jennifer Rubin had to say. The quote-unquote conservative columnist over at the Washington Post. This tweet yesterday, quote, with him screaming and interrupting senators, I could imagine him putting his hand over someone's mouth. Yes, you see, he was mean to senators calling him a rapist, and that means that you can imagine him putting his hand over a woman's mouth while attempting to rape her. Well, weird, because after reading that tweet, I can imagine Jennifer Rubin ranting in an insane asylum as someone tries to catch her with a butterfly net as she runs around in a straitjacket. Doesn't take much of a leap for me to get there, actually. But this was the entire shtick up and down yesterday, over and over yesterday. And then you finally get to the real nub of the matter. And the nub of the matter, I think, was brought forth by Stephen Colbert. Here he was yesterday, spilling the beans on what the real agenda here is for Democrats.
And the wind was sown when Donald Trump had 19 credible allegations of sexual assault against him, bragged about sexual assault on tape, and your Republican buddies up on that committee said, yeah, but we want our guy on the Supreme Court. And that's you, Brett. That doesn't mean you're guilty, but please save your indignation that finally someone is taking one woman's accusation of sexual assault seriously.
Okay, so that's an amazing statement. So Brett Kavanaugh has no right to be outraged. None. No right to be outraged because people didn't take the allegations against Trump seriously. So in other words, Republicans voted for Trump despite the allegations. That means that if we leverage completely baseless charges, evidence-free charges, except for the allegation itself, if we leverage those allegations against Kavanaugh, he has no right to be mad because Republicans weren't mad when actual charges were leveraged against Trump. You understand? So Trump was guilty. Therefore, Kavanaugh shouldn't be mad that he's being railroaded. How is that even remotely logical? It isn't. And he got cheers for it. All this is a petty revenge play. People are angry that Trump is president. People are angry that Merrick Garland isn't on the court. People are angry that there will be 5 Republican appointed conservatives on the court. They're upset about that. And therefore, they are fine with anything that gets thrown at these guys. Anything. This is a show trial. Political purposes infect situations like this. And it is obvious that for Democrats, it has infected situations like this. It's maddening. It's maddening. And that's why Republicans are saying, just vote on this thing. You know what? Done. Let's vote on this. Let's be done with this. I'm sick of it. It doesn't matter what you do. You could have an FBI hearing tomorrow. Everybody could testify to exactly the same thing they have already testified to. Everybody could already come forward and say that Kavanaugh is completely innocent. We can do all of that. Any of it and all of it we could do. And it wouldn't matter one damn for these Democrats. It wouldn't matter one atom for these Democrats. Nothing. They would not care. All this is about is petty revenge, and if they have to tear down a man based on a bunch of fraudulent allegations and a credible allegation with no corroborative evidence, they will do it. They will do it, and they will do it to anyone. If they'll do it to Brett Kavanaugh, they'll do it to you. They'll do it to me. They will do it to anyone. Yeah, it's amazing. There's so many people out there who are saying we need a new unity in this country. You can't have unity when you don't have basic agreement on standards of due process. I mean, these are the basics of Western civilization, and we are seeing them thrown out in favor of sheer partisan brutality on the part of the left. And today what you're seeing is the mainstream Democratic Party embracing their worst instincts, embracing the devils of their nature in order to get what they want. And it is disgusting and awe-inspiring to watch. No wonder so many people are angry. Vote on Kavanaugh, put him on the Supreme Court, and let's be done with this sham. Let's do it now.